What's up, Limeheads? Welcome to another video interview here at Long Island Music and Entertainment. And we're super excited to have Julie Alexandria on with us all the way out in San Diego. Julie, what's up?
Hey, thanks for having me.
No problem. Thanks so much for joining us. Like I said before we started, that this is so cool, but I am a fan of yours from your time here in New York, which we'll discuss in a second. So once again, all the way from San Diego across country, thank you so much for taking your busy time out and joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you. Anything for New York.
There you go. All right, so let's go down the list here. You are a former sideline reporter for the New York Mets, hence why I'm wearing my Mets shirt for you.
Love it.
Also, when you were in the area here in New York, you were a host on an MTV show, which was kind of cool. You were still, here in the area in Times Square. Then you were a Washington Nationals sideline reporter, and then you moved out west and you did the same thing with San Diego Padres. And the list goes on and on. We could spend the whole time just discussing all your amazing accomplishments, but we got other things to do. And currently, you are a on-air personality of La Vida Baseball, and we'll get into that in a little bit. So, you ready to get this party started?
Let's do it.
All right. What do you miss most about here in New York?
Everything.
Everything.
Everything. I miss New York every day. So I am a Queens girl. I was technically born on the Upper East Side, but my family's from Queens. I grew up out there, Belrose, and then we moved to White Plains for a hot minute, and then my parents moved out to the West Coast. But I came back to New York as fast as I could. I left college to come back to New York. I wanted to make it on Broadway. I was an actress and I was doing theater. And I spent 15 years living in Manhattan. I still have my apartment. I still love the Upper West Side. And I miss New York every single day. It is so much a part of who I am as a person. It has informed me in my adult life, even though I moved there when I was, you know, not even legal to drink. um, but I should say moved back there. Um, but I absolutely love it. There is an energy to the city that they always talk about. And it's true, it's undeniable. I love the people, I love the food, I love the air. There's a moment when the airplane is circling, and this would be whether I was coming back from California or I was coming back, with a baseball team and we were playing a New York team, and we would be circling the sky. And it was a time when I hadn't been in the city for a while, specifically with the Padres and the Nationals. And upon circling at JFK, the energy that my body was filled with when I could just see the lights and the patterns below
Right.
is indescribable. And I miss it. I haven't been back all this year, but like I said, I still have my apartment. I try to get back at least quarterly as much as I can.
Okay.
Um, yeah, it always has my heart.
Nice. Nice. So, when was the last time you were here on Long Island?
Oh my gosh. So last time I was in Long Island was for a girlfriend of mine who's from Stony Brook, and she had her bachelorette at one of the wineries on the North Fork. So we went back there all the way out in the North Fork we did a wine tour.
Okay.
And yeah, it was fun.
Cool. All right. Now, when you were here and you spent time with the New York Mets, who was the best person, specifically a player that was like the best to come in contact with, the best to talk with, the best, behind the scenes? Who was the best player or your favorite player that you came in contact with, over at Citi Field?
I would say during my time there, best current player, it has to be the captain, David Wright. He was phenomenal. And being there during his years to cover him was magical. I mean, he's just such a good person on and off the field. I would say collectively as a group, the best people that I came in contact with in a working capacity would have to be the booth. To me, you guys have the best booth in all of
Mhm.
MLB, and that's saying a lot because I've been to almost every ballpark and I've been in the booth at multiple ballparks, and I've heard their announcers, and there is none better than Gary, Keith, and Ron. And I say that because I know them both as people, I know them as broadcasters, as professionals, and also as human beings. And they are just three of the most talented people, the kindest people that you'll ever meet. And I had no greater honor than welcoming them when I was with the Padres and also with the Nationals. We all eat together in the same press,
Okay.
lunchroom, right? Pregame. And it was wonderful to welcome them and have them sit at the table with me, and we would just catch up, for whether it was a 3 or 4 game set, whatever it was, and just talking to those guys. I mean, there is no one more intelligent than uh, than Gary. I mean, he's incredible, Gary Cohen, and no one more funny and knowledgeable about the game than Ron Darling,
Yeah,
and no one
I
more
think
amicable than
I
Keith
think he's
Hernandez.
excellent. I think he'd be an awesome manager for any team.
Yeah.
Were you in the stadium in San Diego when Bartolo Colon hit his home run?
You know what? Okay, so this is actually the second podcast I've done today, and I just got done telling this story because yes, it is my favorite baseball memory. It's my favorite baseball experience and moment when people ask me of my career. I've worked in baseball for over a decade, and
Wow.
hands down, that day was the most incredible day. I was in the right field. I was in right field. I was about to do an in-game hit out there. Jim Brewer, who is a huge
Right.
fan of the Mets, he was out there. Seven Line Army was in full force. They
Okay.
had
Right.
just Right, they were out there. They had just gotten done marching down the gas lamp, which upset a lot of San Diegans, not gonna lie. And they came out in full force. They were in the stands. It was the warmest welcome because I got to the stands and a lot of the seven line, people remembered me from Beer Money from SNY days.
All
A lot
right.
of the
Right.
Mets
Right.
fans there. It was like a homecoming. I went out there and they were like, "Oh my God, it's Julie!" And I was like, "You guys, I love you. I miss you." I was talking to Jim Brewer. All of a sudden, everybody goes silent. I hear the crack of the bat and I'm like, but Bartolo's at bat. And because I was waiting for the break to be able to do a hit. And I'm like, I turn around and I see him rounding the bases. And I said, no way, off of James Big Game Shields. It was phenomenal, that moment. And I'll never forget it. But yes, I mean, that's what Petco Park is known for at this point. I mean, God bless them, but they have not really had the history to be able to, compete with that. Hopefully now with the new era with Fernando Tatis Jr. and Machado, maybe they'll make some new memories, but that one holds true.
I got a story to tell you about the Bartolo home run. I was actually watching the game with my landlord, right? And I went down probably maybe like 5 minutes before the home run happened, and just jokingly, I swear this is the truth, jokingly, I told him he's gonna hit a home run. Like knowing, I think I said that knowing that there's no chance at all that he's gonna do it, and he hits the home run. I'm like, are you kidding me? God's honest
That's a
truth, I swear.
you called it into
I
existence.
said it jokingly. I said he's gonna hit a home run, thinking like my landlord was thinking like I was crazy, and 2 seconds
Yeah,
later, there it goes. So, all right,
best one.
yeah. So switching gears from baseball for a second, you also, like we said before, that you hosted a show on Times Square at MTV. Tell us about that and your time with MTV. How was the switch over from baseball to music and entertainment?
Well, I tell you, it was the only job that could have taken me away from the Mets. I booked that job. It was a 9-month audition process. They were trying to pair up the
Oh,
perfect hosting pair, and I was auditioning for it while I was still working for the Mets. And I thought it's such a long shot. I doubt that it would happen. I used to be the kid who would run home from school to see if Carson Daly was going to call out the number one video and who is it going to be on TRL Total Countdown.
right,
TRL
right.
Live. And then all of a sudden, a few years later, there I was. I booked the job. Unfortunately, I couldn't do both because we were live at 5 in Times Square at 1515 Broadway, which is the same studio they had TRL in.
Right.
The show was called The Seven, and we had live guests from Rihanna to Bruno Mars, and Justin Timberlake came on. It was a wonderful experience, but unfortunately, I had to step away from the Mets because that was really the time that I would have to be taking the 7 train back from doing pregame interviews in the dugout and for Mets Weekly, and which is the show I hosted after Beer Money for a few years. And it just wasn't possible with scheduling. And so I did the MTV show for a year. It was wonderful. It was the best experience. And then after that, I transitioned to college football. So I covered college football for Big Ten Network, Sports Illustrated, and then eventually Big Fox, and then went back to baseball with the Washington Nationals. But it was
Okay.
wonderful. It was a great experience to be live interviewing celebrities. Not too much of a difference, to answer your question, between athletes and celebrities. You know, they're humans at the end of the day. They're just
Right.
people, and but they're fabulous, interesting people, talented people. But they are people, and they have wonderful stories to tell. So it
Very
was
cool.
it was a great gig.
Awesome. Awesome. So now we'll have get away from your career for a second. What can be found in New York and not in San Diego? And then after that, what can be found in San Diego that can't be found in New York?
It was a tough transition. I'm not going to lie. Coming from the East Coast to the West Coast, it's tough, man. It's tough. I mean, I'm used to the fairway market. You know, I'm used to getting my bagel quick,
Yeah.
and life is a lot slower out here. So, I would say immediacy, sense of immediacy, a sense of culture, and a sense of history. Right. I mean, you walk down the streets in New York City, and there is just history in every molecule of that city. I mean, there's so much there, and I appreciate that so much. I appreciate, like I said, the energy and all of the great food and the culture with the museums and the theater and all of that, and it all goes back into history. San Diego has a history of its own. What can be found here and not in New York? um
SeaWorld, right?
SeaWorld, I guess. There is a seaside living lifestyle here that you don't find in New York.
Yeah. All right. How do you spend your time?
How do I spend my time? Well, I am working. I work for an outlet called La Vida Baseball, which
Right.
we go live a few times a week, and we are an incredible outlet that basically tells the stories of the Latin players. We talk about the news in baseball from through the lens of the Latino culture. So we truly give the attention and the platform to the players who are able to then tell their stories in their own voices, because it is very rare that players who perhaps don't speak English get the chance to come on national TV on the game of the week, or are able to be interviewed post game and talk about the game, talk about their life, and just talk about their experiences. And so we do our best to share those experiences, whether it be in Spanish or in English or with subtitles, and to tell those stories of, all of the most amazing players that we're seeing today.
Right.
So we are working on that. We're also working on a wonderful documentary project called The Year of 21, which is a series of short films all devoted to Roberto Clemente and his legacy and his life, and how we see that imparted in today's celebrity culture in players like Javi Baez, who are so inspired by Roberto Clemente, musicians like Bad Bunny, Daddy Yankee, who are incredibly, who say that they owe so much of their own culture and their own talent to Roberto Clemente, who informed everything that they do. So we're working on that with Teamworks Media and La Vida Baseball, hopefully, because this will be the year of 21. It will be the
Yeah.
50th anniversary. So we're
Awesome.
celebrating that hopefully this baseball season.
Cool. When you're not doing, stuff for them, like what do you like to do for fun? When you have downtime, what do you like to do out there?
Oh my gosh! Well, I have a 2-year-old. I have a little boy, and so we get the tea out. We take a little
Mhm.
BP. He loves baseball already, which is
There you
just
go.
warms my heart. So I take care of him. What else do I do? I like to go. One thing that you can do out here that not so much in New York, especially in the winter, going for hikes. San Diego has it all. It's got some forests, it's got some mountains if you go far enough. So I spend some time at the beach and just enjoy the sunshine as much as I can.
Cool. All right, now here at Long Island Music and Entertainment, we like to talk things music. Is there a favorite local act out there in San Diego that you enjoy listening to or going to see?
Oh gosh, I haven't been to a concert in so long. Uh, there's a
Like that-
wonderful venue. I mean, just because of COVID and where we are right now, right? I do hope that music comes back. I hope music festivals come back.
Yeah, me too.
Um, yeah, but I'm a big musical theater fan. I'm a big theater fan. There's wonderful theater out here. Actually, a few shows that made it to Broadway in the past couple of years: Margaritaville, the Donna Summer musical, the Princess Diana musical. Um, all started here in La Jolla at the La Jolla Playhouse. So I really enjoy going to live theater. That's my jam.
Okay. All right. Now going back to baseball for a quick minute. What's the most embarrassing moment or funniest moment of you being a sideline reporter? Anything funny or embarrassing go down over your
I
years?
mean, listen, you Google my name and you see like the Gatorade dump photos. I would say
Oh, okay.
that's probably what I'm most famous for now at this point. I think the year that it happened, so those started in 2013 with the Nationals. It was their shtick, it was their thing. The bullpen guys would come out during, post game interviews off the field, and they would just bring it and dunk. Um, I would say the Gatorade dunks, yeah. I mean, they were super fun, and I loved it. We were all kind of in on the joke, and the audience loved it, the fans loved it, and it always got a great reaction. So they were like, "Is it okay that we do?" I think it was Drew Storen was the one who instigated it all, and he came up to me after the first one. He's like, "So, are you okay? Are we
Hmm.
cool?" And I was like, "Totally no." I was like, "Listen, I'm a showman at the end of the day. The audience loved it. Let's keep doing it." So we did it.
All right. Now, who's your favorite baseball player if you had to pick one of all time?
Current or of all time?
Yeah, it does. It
Um,
could be current, could be all time.
I want to, for argument's sake, I will say Fernando Tatis Jr. only because I truly believe that he is the future of baseball, and I think
I
baseball
agree.
has an uphill battle right now when it comes to the fans, and I think I am all for the preservation of baseball, and I am all for getting the next generation of fans into baseball, and I think the way you do that is with guys like Tatis Jr. And so for me, he represents more than the game. He represents where the game is going, and if he is in any indication, it's going to a good place, which makes me really hopeful for the future.
Very cool. All right, so we've come to the part of the interview where we like to call it the limelight. Limelight is actually a spot in the interview where you get to go ahead and plug whatever you want to plug, your personal social media or La Vida Baseball, whatever you want to plug. The Limelight is actually sponsored. We actually have a sponsor, believe it or not. The WPOV, Professional Wrestling Podcast, is the best wrestling podcast out there. So if you are a wrestling fan and you're watching this interview, please check POV, and you won't be disappointed. So Julie Alexandria, you're in the limelight. Go ahead.
Awesome. I love wrestling. Let's see. So yeah, La Vida Baseball. Follow me. You can check out our shows. We are live every Monday at 10 a.m. Pacific, which would be 1 p.m. Eastern on La Vida Baseball. Our Twitter handle, our Facebook page. We do Facebook Live, and then we have all of our segments that are then put on Instagram. So you can follow us at La Vida Baseball. And you can check out the live show. You can participate. We're also going to be airing on Clubhouse starting this week if you are on the app, if you have the app. And like I said, look for the year of 21, which will be coming out this baseball season. It's going to be a series of 8 individual films, all focusing on the influence of Roberto Clemente and his influence today. I can give you a sneak peek that one of the ones that I'm personally working on is about a school. It's about a school that had the name of a Confederate general. And it was a school that was a whites only school back in the age of segregation. And now, if you look in the news, how we're seeing these Confederate names being wiped off of monuments and taken off of schools and federal buildings, it was now changed. The name was changed to Roberto Clemente Middle School. So we'll be working on that story and turning that into a short film and just really talking about his legacy. And then you can follow me, follow all my San Diego adventures in my baseball life at Julie Alexandria 00 if you are the visual type on Instagram. And you can also follow all of my baseball musings on Twitter at Julie Alexandria.
Awesome. All right, now one last question before we let you go. We know that you're, no stranger behind the mic, interviewing athletes and entertainers. Have you ever been interviewed yourself?
I mean, not that often. So thank you for taking the time and the interest.
No
it's
problem.
always
'Cause I was gonna
it
say,
always kind
I was gonna say, if you were interviewed by other people, I'm sure this interview was your best and your favorite by far, right?
I mean, you were talking about my favorite subject, right? Which is New York City. We're talking
Okay.
about my favorite thing. So yes. By
Automatic
that,
winner right here.
um, what's that?
Automatic winner right here.
Automatic winner, of course. I mean, I can talk about New York all day. If you follow me and you want to chat New York, hit me up. And I do get my bagels delivered from H&H. I order them online from Katz's because
Wow.
it's the
That's
only way.
dedication right there.
Dedication.
All right. So thank you so much for spending time with us. That's all the questions we have. And once again, it was so cool for you to join us. Like I said at the beginning, I'm a fan of yours, and this was super cool. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It means so much to me and wonderful chatting with you. Thank you for this.